Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Joni Ogg, and on behalf of travelprofessionalnews.com, home-based travelagent.com, and findahosttravelagency.com, I'd like to welcome all of you to today's webinar. And thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. Today's topic is Paul Gauguin Cruises, Journeys of Discovery in the South Pacific and Beyond. And our speaker today, and we're happy to welcome her back to our virtual stage here, is Liz Coleman, the Vice President of Sales. Liz has been with Paul Gauguin Cruises for almost 16 years, and she started out as a Director of Sales, covering a quarter of North America. She's now responsible for developing and expanding the travel trade partnerships and charter and incentive business throughout the Americas. And we also have another esteemed guest with us today, and I'm going to let Liz introduce him in just a moment. So just remember, folks, that you are all muted, but we do welcome your questions, of course. At any time, you can put those in the question area that you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. And when the presentation is over, we'll take as many questions as we can. Now, we're excited today to announce that we're going to be presenting two very lucky attendees with prizes. One prize is a beautiful Tahitian pearl pendant, and the other a $50 Amazon gift card. So without further ado, let's turn the microphone over to Liz so we can get started. Welcome, Liz.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Joni. It's great to be here and sharing the stage with our guest, Bob Krist, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him in just a moment. But just to kind of set the stage and give you the lay of the land, the purpose of today's call is to learn more about Bob Krist, one of our featured Paul Gauguin Cruises guest speakers, who sailed with us not only over Christmas just recently, but is ready to set sail with us again on one of our boutique crossings on April 1st, 2025. You'll also learn more about other featured speakers, the destination, of course, that we visit in the South Pacific, all the different islands and the like, and of course, more information on Paul Gauguin Cruises. But let's talk a little bit about our featured guest who will be joining us not only next year, but a little bit about his background as well. Bob Krist is a freelance photographer and filmmaker whose work has taken him to all 7 continents. He has been stranded on a glacier in Iceland, nearly run down by charging bulls in southern India, and knighted with a cutlass during a Trinidad voodoo ceremony. A longtime contract photographer for National Geographic, Bob was named Travel Photographer of the Year by the Society of American Travel Writers 3 times. He has also won awards in the Pictures of the Year, Communication Arts, and World Press Photo competitions. A late career convert to video storytelling, his short films have been exhibited in film festivals in the US, Iceland, and Italy, as well as National Geographic's website, and have won gold and silver awards for broadcast journalism in the Lowell Thomas Travel Journalism Competition, administered by the University of Missouri's School of Journalism. Bob has written a number of other books, earning him additional awards, gold medals for the best travel book in the Lowell Thomas competition. But not only that, to date, Bob and Rick Steves, I'm sure everybody knows that name as well, are the journalists who have won gold medals in both the book and film categories of this prestigious competition. So, boy, Bob, welcome, and thank you for joining us. You've had an amazing career in photography, filmmaking, and journalism. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here and happy to share this destination with people because it's one of my favorites.
Well, and we're going to talk more about your favorites. And but first, if you could tell us, how did you decide to get into this line of work?
Well, I like a lot of photographers. It wasn't my first choice. It was something I really was much more interested in the theater, and I was working as an actor in a theater company that got a grant to tour Europe, and I was saving up for a stereo, and instead went on a 2-year tour of Europe during which time I kind of discovered that I was a better photographer than I was an actor. So I came back and I started working at a small newspaper. And after about five years working on a newspaper in Union City, New Jersey, the garden spot of the Garden State, uh, I I pitched a story to National Geographic, and they took it, and that started my career in travel and photography.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So what drew you to the South Pacific then? Exactly.
Well, that first slide that you were showing showed some stills from a show. I'm really going to be showing my age now. There was a show when I was growing up as a kid called Adventures in Paradise with Gardner McKay as Captain Adam Troy, and he was a schooner captain based in Tahiti, and he had adventures all over the South Pacific. And I can remember sitting in the living room floor with my dad saying, "I want to be Adam Troy. I want to go there." And surprisingly enough, with all the travel, I mean, I was about 30 when I started working for the Geographic. And it took me to my early 50s before I actually got an assignment to go to the South Pacific. And I've been back about 6 times since because I can't get enough of it. It is one of those places that lives up to your imagination. And I have a very active imagination when it comes to travel destinations. You know, I have a list of things that I really are looking to capture, including, you know, spectacular landscapes, interesting culture, warm, wonderful people. And there aren't too many places in the world that can click all those boxes. But French Polynesia and generally the South Pacific is one of those places that clicks all the boxes for me.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? It's interesting. You said, you know, you started out with what, you know, someone planted a seed or something planted a seed. And I feel like this is one of those places in the world that an image, or in your case, the what you saw really kind of left an impression and said, wow, that looks really like a unique place. And I think this is a place that so many people dream about visiting, but they don't really know how to make that dream become a reality. And perhaps that's in part to not really understanding where it is and how to get there. So I just like to draw everyone's attention to the map for just a moment and explain where it is, because I think it feels far, it looks far. You know, a lot of people think it's crossing the international date line, which it isn't. And at this point, there's quite a bit of airline lift into the destination. So the flagship carrier into Tahiti is Air Tahiti Nui, and they have daily flights into the destination. They're actually now operating out of Seattle as well. We also have Delta operating out of Los Angeles on a seasonal basis, and then United Airlines out of San Francisco is operating quite frequently as well on a scheduled air. So lots of different choices, and that's a bit different than it was in, I think, years past, certainly. But if you can get yourself to LA into Papeete, Tahiti, it's under 8 hours. And if anyone's visited or loves Hawaii, we consider it a sister island. LA to Hawaii is about 6 hours. So we say it's a movie and a drink away. And just as far as the sort of the makeup of the islands itself, French Polynesia is made up of 5 French Polynesian islands, archipelago chains, island chains called archipelagos. And Paul Gauguin Cruises goes to 3 out of 5 of those, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. We are equidistant south of the equator as Hawaii is north of the equator. So maybe that helps kind of put it on the map a little bit further. But Bob, you've traveled to how many countries at this point?
Well, last count, I stopped at about 155. It's I've been rode hard and put up wet, as they say. I have a lot of miles on me. But one of the things that's a pleasant surprise about going to someplace exotic like Papeete, it feels like it's far away, but it isn't. It's not that bad. It's as you said, it's an extra movie and a drink over a trip to Hawaii. But it's light years different than Hawaii in terms of, I think, it has a more gentle, authentic feel. It's not as Americanized. It has a little more exoticism, but it's very friendly and very approachable.
And is that one of the reasons that keeps you coming back?
Yeah, because yeah, as a travel photographer and travel journalist, a lot of times, you see images that when you get to the place, there's the expectation and the reality, and sometimes the reality doesn't live up to the expectation. But in French Polynesia, it really does. The place is as gorgeous as it looks in the pictures, and I have to tell you, there aren't that many places in the world where a destination lives up to its photography done by skillful photographers who are making the place look as good as it can look. Anybody can make French Polynesia look like paradise. It is a very beautiful set of islands.
It truly is. And one of the questions some of our listeners might have is, well, so why explore this destination via a cruise versus maybe the overwater bungalow, which I think everyone thinks about as well. And we feel that it's one of the effortless, easiest ways to experience just floating effortlessly from place to place and being able to kind of come and go as you please, really on your terms. You had said it's beautiful, it's exciting, and it's so exotic. And I think people do really dream about this magical place in the world, but they're not really sure, how to make it happen. And, for those of you who are on the line, you're obviously wanting to learn a little bit more about us in the destination. Know that year over year, we're recognized as being the best of the best. And I think that, there's so many savvy travelers out there just by means of, having access to the internet and certainly publications online or the written word. So they're really doing a lot of research. And so you want to be able to arm them with this saying, look, I'm presenting this small, intimate way to get from place to place. And they've got a reputation that is that's worthy of considering as your next experience. So just a little bit about our profile. We're just over 300 guests. Every room is a room with a view, no inside staterooms. The minimum size footprint is 200 square feet, and then it's addition to the balcony. So at least 37 square feet plus almost 600 in total when you're getting up to the suites. Our staff to guest ratio is 1 to 1.5, some of the highest at sea. And the fact that it's all inclusive, all of your meals, all of your wines, your spirits, you're really not wanting for anything. Gratuities, every room is situated with a little mini bar, and it's replenished daily with soft drinks and beer and water. And I think maybe this will be right up your alley. It's the Wi-Fi, Bob, because who doesn't want to send those beautiful pictures home and tease everybody and tell them what they're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, the Wi-Fi was amazingly fast because I've been on other ships where sending pictures, I was home before the pictures uploaded, but the Wi-Fi was very fast, and that was a delight, to tell you the truth.
Wonderful. And one of the other attributes of the ship and the experience that we provide are our own local Tahitian hosts and entertainers. We call them Le Gauguin and Le Gauguin. So we feel that offering as much Polynesian hospitality and spirit on the ship is equally important as you are able to experience off the ship as well. And Bob, you had said a moment ago that one of the things that you love about travel is the cultural enrichment that you get in any one place.
Yeah, and the thing about the Polynesian people and the spirit is that music and storytelling and stuff is in their DNA, and they're so willing to share it. And the Gauguins and the Gauguins were especially fun to hang out with because they're like they know so much about their culture. They're like anthropologists who are good looking and can dance and sing. and the thing I liked about having them on board was sometimes they were front and center giving a performance, but almost every morning you could go up and have coffee with them and they'd be talking about a different aspect of basket weaving or doing something else. And I came away with so much more of a background of knowledge about the culture and customs of Polynesia than I had before. And it was just hanging out with the Gauguins and having a coffee in the morning. And it was so easy and organic and part of our day. It was really relaxed and wonderful.
Wonderful. Now, these gentlemen are not our Gauguins or Gauguin. Can you tell us about this picture?
Well, almost every time you get on or off the ship, there's some guys hanging out with ukuleles singing and greeting you, and they do this of their own accord. And these guys were a couple of guys just waiting on the dock in Bora Bora, and they had a great little act going, comedy and singing.
Oh, that's great. So then when you're on the ship, you can expect to enjoy exceptional service. As I said, staff to guest ratio is 1 to 1.5, where they know your name, a little bit about you, your favorite beverage of choice. We curate all of the itineraries to make sure that you have ample time in any one place. So on our trademark itinerary being the 7-night sailing, for example, everybody thinks about Bora Bora and Moorea, and we spend 2 days on each of those islands, except there are a couple of 7-night sailings where we add another island and then reduce Moorea by 1 day. But on most of the 7-night sailings, you'll get 2 days in Bora Bora and 2 days in Moorea. And we'll go over the itineraries in just a moment. But I don't know how I just flipped the end, pardon me. Apologize for that, just bear with me. I should have phoned home. Here we go. The click of a button. Anyway, lots of open deck space on the Paul Gauguin. So if you're maybe perhaps one person that says, I just want to kind of hang out on the ship, you can always find a chaise lounge, obviously from this photo here, but were there certain areas of the ship that you enjoyed over the other?
Well, those upper decks are great shooting platforms for when we were coming in or leaving an island, early in the morning or late in the evening. It was just a great shooting platform for getting spectacular photography. And if the conditions were really great, the captain would just make a very brief announcement, enough to let you know that something special was happening, but not enough to make you feel guilty if you decided to stay down and keep drinking at the poolside or whatever. But I spent a lot of time up on the deck, and I got some spectacular pictures. My wife Peggy used to love to do she's very active, and she'd do her walking. She'd get in her miles every day, just walking around the deck. So it's surprisingly spacious, and you never feel crowded up there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a very good point. Because I think sometimes when people think about, cruising, they think about really lots of people in a very confined space and find that it's some of the largest space to guest ratio at sea. A couple of the things that we offer are exclusive retreats, private experiences, one off the island of Taha, and that's our own private beach day on the Motu Mahana, where we take all of the staff and it's a full beach barbecue day. And then the other one is off Bora Bora. And because we spend 2 days in Bora Bora, you have ample time for those beach opportunities. After all, Tahiti, we do think about sun and sand as much as we think about maybe the culture and the backdrop and the marine life and things like that. And these are some of your photos of the marine life, which are spectacular in color. Can you tell us about this one?
Well, this is just a little shot that I did with a point and shoot camera. I did a pretty extensive coverage of Bora Bora Moorea for National Geographic Traveler about 20 years ago. And to go underwater and get shots like this back in the day, it took a separate suitcase full of underwater housings and big cameras. But one of the beauties about the new technology today is that anybody with an iPhone and an underwater housing or a plastic bag can get amazing photos. This is from one of the excursions, swimming with sharks and rays. And you're not really swimming, you're wading with them. So you don't have to be, a trained swimmer or snorkeler to get spectacular images and get looks at amazing undersea life. This was all shot in waist high water with a point and shoot. So So it's amazing how accessible some of these things are. Things that, you know, in the past may have taken scuba diving and lots of skill and lots of gear. You're wading through. You can almost do it with a drink in one hand.
Well, well, almost, as long as you don't drop the camera or the drink. Maybe the
Right.
drink over the camera, I'm not sure. But you know, you bring up, you know, the technology and the equipment is so much more sophisticated. You don't need all of that technology. And these are just a couple of my that, and I'm not a photographer by any means, and certainly I don't do it justice to what you're doing, but I think one of the things that you offer, especially with our photographers on board, is the ability to, you know, little tips that you can learn about how to take the best picture.
Yes, that's I mean, that's my first lecture on board, is always a kind of a 10 simple tips to improve your photography. And it's amazing how many photographers come out of the woodwork when encouraged, because I always had folks asking questions at different destinations, and we had little impromptu workshops on different excursions. So it was a lot of fun that way. And you know, these days they say everybody's a photographer, and you can be a good photographer pretty easily in places like this.
Oh, that's great. So moving right along to our different dining venues, we have 3 different dining venues, each with its own culinary flair. We have 24-hour room service. So if you're someone that says, I want breakfast in bed, you can certainly do this. But L'Etoile is the main dining room, just serving dinner in the evening. It's open seating, single seating. And what I love about this particular dining venue is that if you want to meet new friends, and the maitre d' will always ask if you want to meet new friends, or if you want to sit unto yourself, and do that as well. In La Grille and La Veranda, there are 2 different restaurants. They are our specialty restaurants. This is more al fresco. It's situated just next to the pool. When we are overnighting in Bora Bora, Marea, we move the tables and the chairs outside, so you can literally eat under the stars in the moonlight. This menu is more Asian fusion, kind of French Polynesian, where La Veranda is more of like a French bistro. Reservations are required in both of these restaurants, and then we also serve breakfast and lunch in these 2 restaurants as well. Now, food, cuisine, Bob, is always so much a part of travel, and how we like to kind of taste different things along the way. Did you have a favorite restaurant when you joined us?
Well, I spent a lot of time in L'Etoile because I do like the continental cuisine, and my wife Peggy's very sociable, so she likes to sit at big tables and meet new people. So she did the talking, I did the eating. It was a very good balance of responsibilities there. But I enjoyed all 3. But the nice thing about L'Etoile is that if you've forgotten to get yourself a reservation or whatever, you can always just walk in there, and you'll always be welcome. And as I said, and as you pointed out, you can eat by yourself or you can eat with a group. And we've met some really nice people, some of whom we're still in touch with and will probably remain in touch with. So it was a very nice choice among the 3 restaurants.
Well, that's great. And then after maybe dinner, if you'd like a little bit of entertainment, we've got the Grand Salon, which is where Bob and some of our featured guest speakers will present and talk about, you know, their different topics, either late in the day, or if it's maybe other kinds of entertainers, they'll be on stage here in the evening. This is where we'll convene for shore excursions, getting the groups together, and then tendering over. So it's a larger open space where you can do different things, like different activities as well. Now, Bob, you like to spend some time on the ship, and you were talking about the captain kind of calling out different opportunities. And was this one of them, or did you just happen to see the rainbow?
No, this was the captain. It was early morning. I was heading up that way anyway. We were coming into Huahine, and he mentioned that it was going to be a spectacular entry into the lagoon, but he didn't mention that we were going to see some amazing weather conditions too. The clouds, passing squall was passing by. The sun was coming out, and we had some amazing looks at rainbows and waterfalls and everything. and it just was an incredible morning. That a half hour of such intense weather conditions and beauty that I was just riveted. I went through probably one whole SD card just in that morning because you don't get too many nice looks at rainbows as strong as this with such nice landscapes behind them. They're rare. So that was a really special morning.
Wow, and I've actually seen double rainbows and taken pictures, but none of my pictures, I have to admit, look like that. So other entertainment, I spoke about the Les Gauguin and Les Gauguin, who by day are running different activities, and in the evening they're performing, they're singing and dancing, and as Bob said, music and dance and performances are so much a part of their culture. And then on top of that, we sometimes bring other entertainers and other guest speakers. And by the way, one of the handouts on the right side of the panel is a list of our guest speakers and featured hosts on any one sailing. You can also find those on our website at pgcruises.com. But if you're looking for a consolidated list of our featured speakers for not only this year, we're just starting to lay them in for 2025, and there may be more to come for 2000, or there will be actually more to come for 2025, but this is what we have so far. This is such a beautiful picture. I love this one that you took, and in fact, these are some of the gals that we've invited over as performers on the Gauguin, because whenever we can, we also bring local singing and dancing troops onto the ship. But clearly you were thinking the same thing when you took this picture. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, this was shot on Bora Bora, and they are part of a a crew of entertainers who do a lot of the traditional dance and everything. And as a photographer, and a storyteller with visuals, I'm always looking beyond the actual event and looking around the fringes and before and after the actual event to get the pictures. And these girls, watching some of their compatriots do their thing on stage, I got the shots of the actual performance, but then, a lot of times I think that the strongest pictures happen with people reacting to what they're seeing. And this was just such a nice tableau of these lovely ladies who would just they were the next act and they were up and ready to go. And as I mentioned before, it's just like music is in the DNA down there, music and dancing. And there's nothing forced or phony about it. It just flows, and it's really a lot of fun to watch and photograph.
Wonderful. So now speaking of entertainment for maybe younger people, we do also have a Moana Explorer program, which is a family youth program presented by Te Moana Society. And this is offered only during the summer sailings and the last two sailings of the year. It's complimentary and caters to children 6 to 15 years old. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for families, multi-generational groups. It gets them away from the screens and really immerses themselves into the landscape, to learning more about the marine life, how to take care of the environment. And the best part of it is that there's something for everyone. I know that I've seen adults, grandparents look at how this program is presented, and even if they don't have children, they want to get in the action because it's really that so engaging, and the kids and the families really love it. Moving now into the itineraries for the remainder of the year in 2025, and we're going to focus on some of those boutique crossings as well. But as I mentioned, our trademark itineraries focus on the 7, 10, 11, and 14 night sailings. Paul Gauguin Cruises goes to 3 out of the 5 French Polynesian islands. And then we also, as a trademark itinerary, explore the Cook Islands, which really isn't a part of French Polynesia, but rather about Polynesia. And then on occasion, we do go to itineraries that go beyond that, crossing the international date line, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But the 7-night sailing is really at the heart of all of the longer sailings in and around French Polynesia. And we start in Papeete, Tahiti, we move to Huahine, spend a day in Taha, 2 days in Bora Bora, and 2 days in Moorea, and then we come back. We do have an offshoot of this, which I'll talk about as well, but given the fact that you've spent so much time in this area, Bob, can you tell us about a really memorable experience that you've had when you've gone there?
Well, I think one of the most interesting evenings I ever had was when I went to photograph a traditional tattoo artist on the island of Moorea. His name was Renui, or his name is Renui. And you know, tattooing, the tradition started in Polynesia, and it's a high art there. And I knew as part of my coverage for National Geographic, I needed to get some deep insights into the culture. And so I made an appointment. Now, Renui spoke French only, and my French is pretty bad. And when I showed up, he thought I came for a tattoo, but I came for a photo session. And he was just one of the most graceful people in front of the camera. And it was twilight, and there was a storm brewing, and we were shooting fast because there was rain coming. And we only got off about, I think about 26, 27 frames before it started pouring, but it was an amazing, it's probably one of the richest 26 pictures I've ever taken. And one of the things that I loved was while we were photographing, his father and his two kids came out and were gathering some clams in the shallows behind there. You can see them for dinner. And it was just the most natural thing in the world. And of course, I could never think to pose that because I would never think to ask anybody to do it, but life was just unfolding. And so it was a very special evening. They invited me to stay for dinner, and you know, my French level went up a couple of years worth during that dinner, but the food was delicious. And it was just one of those magical encounters that, you know, you can get in places where people are still open to visitors and really aren't afraid to open their houses and their hearts to you, you know?
That's great. Is that where art meets life, or life meets art, whatever that saying is? I mean, it's like you see something so artistic, and then there's so much beyond that photo that you're taking. You're really starting to engage in the people and the landscape and everything that make it just that much. The picture says
it's one of those magical moments that, you know, when you travel with a camera, you know, the common thing is, oh, put the camera away, and enjoy yourself. But I've always tried to look at the camera as an excuse to be curious and reach out to people. And often it's the catalyst of those kind of moments of encounter and everything. And of course, you know, this what we're looking at now is just a selection of pictures around Moorea, which is, you know, it was funny on this last cruise, I kept saying to Peggy, all right, this is my favorite island. I want to live here. And then we'd get to the next one. I'd say, this is my favorite island. I want to live here. And she was like, make up your mind. You know, they're all so nice. But Moorea is especially nice, I think, because it has, it's big enough. It has a real sense of local culture and everything. And you know, there are farms and ranches and things like that. So it's real life. It's not just a tourist facade. And it is one of my favorite islands there.
wonderful. So I mentioned there's an offshoot of the one other itinerary that we have for the 7 nights, and sometimes we have more Society Islands, more Tahitian Society Islands, and here is where we stop in Raiatea, and then we spend 1 day in Moorea versus the 2, but you get even more islands on the 7-night sailing. So if you're someone that wants to come back and explore a little bit more, you have that opportunity as well. And then moving right along, we have the 10-night sailing where we're moving out to the Tuamotus, the low-lying atolls, where it's really all about the water. It's all about the marine life. So if we have any scuba divers on the line or snorkelers, this is a great opportunity to see a rich array of marine life. But you know, for you, Bob, you said that you told me in the past that you're not as much about a snorkeler, but you wanted to investigate the island of Tuamotus, and here you were able to do something a little bit different than be in the water all the time. Well,
you know, one of the things that having traveled for the Geographic and stuff, I'm not used to traveling with a lot of people. So one of the I'm always kind of concerned about is you go on a cruise, it's always going to be, you know, you're always going to be in a group and everything. But that never really felt that way. And if you wanted to get away from it all, you could. And we rented a couple of bikes. on Fakarava here, and we just took off. Now Peggy went swimming a lot. I was doing more photographing. She was loving the water until I think she saw a fish that was as big as she was, and she decided she'd stay on the bicycle. But that was one of the things we really enjoyed about the cruise. We could be among people when we wanted to be, and every island we could just we had the option to go off on our own and just explore as individual travelers. And for somebody who's traveled as much as I have, some people take great comfort in a group and can't travel without a group, and some people like to travel by themselves. And here on these types of stops, and a boat this size, a ship this size, you have the choice, and it's a lovely choice to have, because no matter what your mood is that day or your personal style of travel, you can find it there.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a fully customizable experience. So on the 14-night sailing, which is what you did at Christmas, we venture out to the Marquesas Islands, where you've got this is one of the areas that was very interesting to you as well. Includes the Society Islands. We go to the Tuamotus and the Marquesas, which is dramatically different than any other island chain, but this area holds a special interest to you.
Well, it had been the one archipelago in French Polynesia I was unable to get to before, because they are, they're stop between Hawaii and French Polynesia, and they're not well served by airports, so you don't really fly in there. You've got to approach by boat, and it's really hard to get up there. But somehow all these famous writers did. James Michener, Robert Louis Stevenson, Herman Melville wrote a Taipei in the Marquesas. So the Marquesas also have just a slightly different twist on the culture, more of a warrior culture. So it's been an area of fascination for me, and I finally got to visit the islands, and they did not disappoint. I mean, from the greeting that we had from the chief to some of the carvings and some of these unbelievably lush little bays with villages that not too many people have seen. It was a real special 3 or 4 days as we were going through the Marquesas, and I was so happy to cross that off my list and put it back on top of the list as a place to go back to. I really enjoyed it, and again, I was falling victim to that. This is my favorite island. No, I'll stay here, thank you. It's really all you can do to not jump ship sometimes and just set up your own hut and live the life.
True, so true. Then we have another 14-night sailing, which adds another island in Wapo of 14 nights, and I'm going to move a little bit faster through the next several slides. So I said our trademark itineraries are in and around French Polynesia. Now we're going to cross the international date line and talk about some of those really extraordinary itineraries going beyond. Here, and this is very common to us, going to Fiji and back. A lot of times we do it within the itinerary, or sometimes we do it and then go on because we're going into dry. We'll actually repeat this in the fall, and then eventually in 2025, we will be heading over to Singapore. But this one is 20 nights, crossing Oceania, Fiji to Bali, which I think is extraordinary. And Bob, you've spent quite a bit of time in this area as well, is that right?
Yes, and this is as you're getting now closer to Melanesia and Micronesia, it's still the South Pacific, but the influences are a little different, more from Asia and less from the West, and some really interesting weaving traditions, dancing traditions. Bali is a place unto itself. These are some of the rice terraces in Bali. It's an extraordinary place with a very unique form of Hindu culture that really results in there's unbelievable dances. This is the barong dance, and every village. I was Liz, when we were rehearsing, when we were talking about the Balinese language has no word for artist, because everybody's an artist. And it's true. You in Bali, you go from village to village, and one is a village of silversmiths. Then there's a village of fabric weavers. There's a village of goldsmiths. The whole everyone is an artist, and it's a very magical place. I mean, it's one of those places again that kind of lives up to the hype.
Yeah, well, I have not been to this part of the world, and it looks amazing. And you are so fortunate that you've spent quite a bit of time in the world. And this is actually the sailing that you'll be on April 1st, Singapore to Darwin. I'm so jealous.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm
you've
looking
got a
forward
lot
to this
planned.
because Singapore is one of the super cities of the 21st century. When I first started going there, it was like a little backwater, and now it's like one of those gigantic super cities, and it's so cool. These are the super trees. They have gardens. They're very for a city state. They're very ecologically concerned, and so there's a lot of greenery and a lot of fantastic nature. And then as you get into the smaller Indonesian islands, you see more of the traditional culture, like the shadow puppets and stuff like that. And so on that particular itinerary, it's going to be like time travel, because we're going to start off in a city of the 22nd century, and we're going to go back to some traditions that have been in practice for hundreds of years. So I am really looking forward to that crossing. And Darwin is you can get your Crocodile Dundee chops on there. It's a very exciting place, and there's some very interesting places around Darwin to visit as well.
And on that sailing, you're going to have a number of featured topics that you will, especially when we're on our sea days, talking about not only travel photography, but behind the scenes, some fun stories that you will talk about with misadventures, but the culture of Bali. I mean, just really kind of wholehearted, not only about the territory itself, but some of your experiences as almost want to say a time traveler, because you've done and seen so much.
Yeah, well, some of those talks are good war stories. When you end up in jail and they think you're a CIA agent and stuff like that. It's more fun to talk about it 20 years later than it is to live through it. But that's what experience is. So some of my talks will be that, and we'll be talking and looking at some aspects of the Balinese culture, and then we'll be talking about things about authentic travel in the age of Instagram. How can you still, I mean, Instagram has kind of commodified a lot of places, but how can you still be a genuine traveler and really be touched and touch the people at your destination? So I'll be talking about a lot of these things, and in the Grand Salon there. And of course, being a photographer, they're all heavily illustrated.
And you know what, you're going to be on the April 1st sailing. Then we have another National Geographic photographer on this sailing as well, from Darwin to Fiji. So really some great topics. And as I said, I've got a handout on the right side of the panel, but that's what Paul Gauguin Cruises is all about, really, is enrichment on not only off the ship, but giving you ample opportunity to explore either on own or through an organized fashion. And I think we shall not disappoint in providing great food, great entertainment, great opportunities to learn more about the culture and the people and all of those things. But tell us about this this is so vivid in color. Wow.
Well, probably one of the most remote, strangest places on the planet is Papua New Guinea, and I think you stopped there on a couple of these. And these are tribes of warriors who stopped headhunting not too long ago. But the thing that penetrates all these cultural differences is humor, and and fooling around, and everybody has a sense of humor. So we started pantomiming a fight between myself and the little guy there who is a warrior, and I let him win there, as you can see. And you can see the kids. Well, we cropped the kids out there, but there were some kids reacting to our little pantomime. And it's just when you're open, when you're humorous. Humor is kind of like photography, the universal language. And like when that upper right-hand picture, when these guys were marching to go off to one of their, it was a big festival in the Highlands. I kind of got down on my knees and I kind of was hoping they'd march right over me. And both those guys looked down and just gave me a little wink and just walked right past me. But one of them just tapped my head with the hammer there on his way past, just to remind me, you're on my territory now. So it's just, you know, fierce, ferocious looking guys with a twinkle in their eye. And that's what I love about these type of encounters.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's awesome. So we're going to wrap up in the next few minutes, but I just want to highlight a couple of things that are new to Paul Gauguin, and that is we have now an online travel advisor center, and if you go to pgcruises.com/TA-center, you'll be able to create a login, and this is where you'll be able to access brochures and additional resources, as well as your sales director. This is a closed portal at this point, and so you do need to reach out to your travel, your director of sales to get your agency ID number. And it's that login that you'll use to access this closed portal. In addition, we have a couple of promotions. One is the solo savings opportunity, and this is on the website. And it's an opportunity for singles to join us. I feel like singles is, you know, if you're a single traveler and you still dream about these places, you can still do it even if you don't or want to travel with somebody. In categories E and F, window and porthole, on select sailings, there's a zero single supplement, and on the same sailings, applicable sailings in a balcony category will offer 50% off the single supplement. So it's a wonderful opportunity for those singles to join us as well and not have to pay full fare. And now this is really special for all of you on the phone, because this is a really, when I say closed offer, we did not publicize this ahead of time, is that if you have an opportunity to receive, just by joining us today, receive a 5% off any new Paul Gauguin Cruises booking if you book it between today and April 1st. The booking code is webinar. It's only on new bookings. There are some conditions that apply. For example, groups, if you have a group contract with us, are not eligible for this. But if you're looking to test the waters a little bit, this is an additional promotion out in the market for you. And then, of course, I want to introduce you to your sales contacts if you're not familiar with them. We've got Vicki Lubick, who covers all of Canada. Lisa's based in the Southwest. Barbara covers the Northwest. Scott is based in the Southeast, covers all of the Southeast, and Enchanted the Northeast and the Midwest. We are driven by where your host is. So if you live in California, but your host is in Florida, then you would actually work with someone like Scott. Know that we're small, but we're mighty. And we want to make sure that you get the level of support you need. So if you are local to California and need something, Lisa certainly, or Barbara, is happy to help out as well. We really work as a team, but because that person is familiar with your host, that's why we direct you to that respective sales director. So with that, we're going to say Maruru. Thank you very much for joining us. And now this is where we bring Joni back on to see if there are any questions or comments, etc.
Wonderful. Oh, this was fantastic. All I can say is those photos are just unbelievable. They're stunning. And like you said, Liz, the color was just amazing. I certainly can't take pictures like that. So I so appreciated being able to see this, as did so many people on here. So a lot of the comments were made on, oh my God, those pictures. Oh my goodness, those pictures. So thank you for sharing your art with us. That is truly such a talent to be able to do that. So we do have some questions. The first one I wanted to question that I see here is, do you know of anything by chance direct from Toronto in the works?
Direct from Toronto in the way
Flight-wise.
No, you have to actually connect in Los Angeles or in Seattle or San Francisco.
Okay, so you got to go to your major hub for it. Okay, yes. Perfect. Yeah. Someone says they have honeymooners that want to go to French Polynesia and they're worried about being too young for the cruise crowd. That's a great question. Can you kind of share a little bit about that list?
Absolutely. Well, we all know that French Polynesia, Tahiti, when we say Tahiti, is one of those destinations that honeymooners just dream about. And, that was one of the biggest ahas for me when I went the first time almost 16 years ago. One, would I be comfortable as a single person? Because I left my husband and 3 boys at home. Wow, had a great time. But I was comfortable. But the second thing is and since then, I've remarked upon how many young people how many honeymooners are on the ship. And the funny thing is, and I think, Bob, you said it, you can actually be unto yourself or you can engage and do it on your terms. Anyone sailing that I've ever been on, I've always seen honeymoon couples, maybe 10, 12 honeymoon couples that are maybe in their late 20s, 30s. And the funny thing is they always end up finding each other. I don't know how it works, why it happens, but they do, and they're always having such a wonderful time. The average age is in your early 60s. I think what's driven them up from years past is that we have longer 14-night sailings. So if you look at the average, more mature market wants to do something a little bit longer. They have the time, they have the resources. But I think as we have more 7-night sailings in the coming years, that average will probably be drawn down. Regardless of the age, I feel like it's a youthful mentality. These are people that have done and seen a lot, and they want to engage. And it's sort of a place for soft adventure as well. But plenty of honeymooners, and they feel very comfortable. It's almost like a floating resort. So what you're going to do on Bora Bora, you're not just the ship instead of on land.
Okay, perfect. We have a question about the solo supplements. I think this question came in before you actually showed that side, so I think you probably answered that. But they're asking, how many sailings have the reduced solo supplement?
So you can go to the website. I just pulled this off the website the other day, and it is capacity controlled. But if you go to the website, you'll be able to see, see what's available. And
Okay.
we may be adding more as well. It's a really great opportunity, honestly.
That is. I mean, honestly, that is so great that you make that available to folks, because not everybody has someone to travel with, so it's a wonderful opportunity. Okay, so are deposits refundable? I'm assuming there's a date to that effect.
Yeah. So if you make a booking it's a 25% deposit. And the whole payment schedule is online, but if you make a deposit within and decide like, something came up within the first 2 weeks, you actually get that whole deposit back within the first 2 weeks. After that, there are penalties. It's a 25% deposit, 90 days prior to sailing. The amount is paid in full, and there is a time frame with a cancellation schedule, and you can find that at pgcruises.com.
Okay, great. This other question, they said, first of all, great presentation. They love the photos, but they makes them want to go to French Polynesia right now. But they were also saying, can you tell a little bit more about the air program, perhaps?
Sure. So we have contracted air with Air Tahiti Nui, and we have a package that you can purchase with us or through us. We also have a la carte air arrangements. So if you want to come in a couple days early, stay a couple days later, and that would be Air Tahiti Nui packaging,
Okay.
or I say a la carte flexibility. If you want to fly on United, then you'd have to arrange that on your own. If you wanted to fly with Delta, you'd have to arrange that on your own as well.
Okay. I have a question for Bob. What camera did you use for the rainbow picture?
I actually used, it's a little compact camera called a Sony RX100 Mark VII. It's a little pocket camera. I did an experiment on this trip. I traveled only with compact cameras. I didn't take any of my big boy cameras, just 2 little pocket compacts, and that was with one of them. It's not a cheap camera, but it's small, and it was and that's what I used for those shots.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for the tip. Everybody appreciates that, I know.
Yeah,
Somebody asked a
I got
question.
some funny
Go ahead.
looks from some of the passengers who were really photographers, and they had these big cameras and big lenses, and I had these two little pocket cameras, and there was at times that I had to prove my credibility by showing them my work. So
That's
because the
funny. That's
equipment
good.
looked like amateur equipment, but there's a
Yeah,
point to be made
exactly. Like,
there.
oh yeah, this guy really does what he says he does, right?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. That's funny. Okay, so a question. I think they're trying to answer this themselves, but they're asking what the five islands are for Tahiti.
Ah, okay. So the main, like the large, well, the most populous and most popular is the Society Islands. Are you talking about the island chains? I think that's the
I think,
question.
yeah, they said Society Iceland, Tuamato,
Tuamotu,
Marquesas. Yeah, Tuamotu.
Cases,
Thank
and
you.
the Australs and the Gambier. We don't go to those two island chains.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's what the question was. Okay, great. All right, so last question, another question for you, Bob, and maybe you just said this and they didn't quite get it, so they were asking again, what was the pocket camera model?
Oh, it's Sony RX100, and it's the Mark 7. It's the latest. It's been such a popular camera for Sony. They've had 7 incarnations of it. So it's the
Wow.
latest one, RX100. It literally fits in your shirt pocket when it's collapsed. It has a wide angle to photo, 24 to 200 millimeter equivalent, and it's like a professional camera in sheep's clothing. You look harmless with it, but it takes pictures. I've published pictures with that in the Geographic. So with
Wow.
the earlier ones, because I'm retired now, but the first 2 generations of that little pocket camera, I had several pictures from that published in the National Geographic. So it it's a wolf in sheep's clothing in terms of its photographic capabilities.
Well, it sounds like it. Wow. All right, so that pretty much takes care of our questions. Now, we do have a couple prizes to give away today. So, what we're first going to do is I'm going to ask a question, and that you guys want to, who all of you people that are on today, you go over to the questions mark area where you would have put them in if you had any for us. And you're going to type as fast as you, or keyboard as fast as you can, the answer, because I'm going to take on the first one, I'm going to take the 5th correct answer. And on the second question, when I do that, I'm going to take the 7th correct answer. So without further ado, we'll do that. But before we do that, I do want to let everybody know this was recorded, and therefore all of you will be getting a link to this within like an hour, hour and a half today that will allow you to watch this again, because I know so many of you are going to want to do that. So just be aware, it has been recorded. You will get a link to be able to do that. So the first question is, on what sailing will Bob be featured on? Go. Okay. The correct answer is April 1st. A lot of people got that. Wonderful. But the 5th person to get it was Kathy Dalton. Kathy, congratulations. You have won a beautiful pendant, a Tahitian pearl pendant, and I'm sure that Liz will be getting to you with the information on that. So congratulations to you. Now, the second prize is a $50 Amazon gift card, which is our gift to our wonderful hosts here today. We so appreciated Paul Gauguin being here with us, so we wanted to throw another prize in there. We're so pleased to have them, and we're so proud to have them as with us today. So, Bob, thanks to you, and also thanks to Liz. So, on behalf of us at Travel Professional News, we're going to take the 7th. How many islands make up the archipelago? I know I said that wrong. Chains in French Polynesia. We're taking the 7th correct answer. Go. Oh, wonderful. Now, this is somebody that was very engaged today and had great questions. Jacqueline Hyder, you are the winner, and the answer is 5. So, congratulations to you. We will be getting to you with that. You'll receive an email from us with that gift card for you as well. Okay. So without further ado, I want to thank our presenters. Bob, it's been an honor to have you on here.
Well, my
I
pleasure.
can't
My
even tell
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
So much fun. I had so much fun watching this. And also, Liz, of course, it's wonderful to have you back again. I'll let them say their goodbyes, and then we'll see everybody next time around. So, Liz?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Joni. Thank you, Bob, for joining us as well. It was great. Please reach out to your sales director if we can help strategize, help you turn some of those prospects into actual booking clients. We're here to help, and we'd love nothing more to see you and your clients join us on a future sailing. So with that, we'll say Maruru.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for being on here today. And we will see you on the next webinar. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.